In this episode, we fix an aircon unit. Oh wait. Of course, we are talking about this type of Levante, and in specific, this one. So in the last video, we managed to get it going, or in Salvage Rebuilds video, we managed to get it started under the bonnet, but it wasn't right. The car wasn't 100% right, and it was throwing up errors and things like that. I'm going to take you through how we found this, so apologies if it's a bit boring for some, but this is what I would consider a raw video. I haven't gone ahead and edited it all after we found the problem. I've just taken it through you live. And the advantage with that is you get the actual, what it's like when you're diagnosing things, because I'm telling you now, I know there's plenty of people on YouTube that diagnose things, and some of them do it like once they found the problem, they'll take you through the process. And that's great because it's streamlined, it's to the point, and it's very, you know, it gives you a good knowledge on what to do. But I guarantee all of them have gone down the wrong path before and things like that in real life. And then once they've done it, they've given the video. So this, I'm risking it. Rather than having a polished video, it's just raw footage of how we found the fault. If we did find the fault. Did we find the fault? Did we get it started? Because, yeah. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the video and I'll take you through it now. So it's a 2023 Levante that will not start. We managed to get it started by jumping a starter relay under the bonnet, but it was a little bit not great because it would then kick the starter motor in and things like that, and it was throwing up some issues. But we're just to start, obviously when you get a job like this, it can be quite difficult. I think if it was just a normal straight car that came into us, you'd have found the fault a little bit quicker if we did. But because it's been a crash damaged car, there's two things to note here. One, it's hybrid, and two, it's a crash damaged vehicle. So, or actually three, because it's been at a salvage yard. So, although Rob and Chris are very open about what happened, salvage yards, sometimes they aren't. People had been playing with this car at the salvage yards, whether that was to try and get it to start, whether it was to get the handbrake off, I'm not sure, but there was things apart. So you start questioning, is it something that someone's done to it after the crash? Is it the hybrid system shutting the car down after the crash? Or is it gone into fault mode because of the crash? So you just don't know. Or has someone else been playing with it? What is going on? Is there an immobilizer on it? Is something damaged? Is there a wire broken somewhere? So all these things are in the back of your mind because of the history of the car. And sometimes that doesn't make a clear-cut path in trying to find the fault. So this Maserati then, where are we at with it? Now it's coming to us because the body shop's local, so we've grabbed hold of it, and I'm at a bit of a sticking point because I don't have access to the Maserati technical info. I have applied, I've never needed a wiring diagram before, and Maserati are taking their time in approving us so that I can get the diagram that I need. But there's always a plan B, and I've been having a little play and I found something interesting, and then I thought I'll grab the camera and start filming. I've just hooked up a power probe. This is just a device that basically is like a multimeter, but it's also got a switch so I can give 12 volt and ground. And I was just looking over this starter motor circuit. Now, a lot of you did comment and said, has this car got a ghost? And it did cross my mind, but we were missing 2 feeds on this starter motor relay, one being the 12 volt, and I dismissed it at first. And then I thought, actually, depending on how it's set up, it could well be the case. But we got in contact, well, I didn't get in contact, Rob got in contact with Auto Watch, and this car does not have a ghost fitted, so they've said. And I'll take you through what I've seen and where I'm going to go with it. So in this fuse box, the relay here is a starter motor relay, and it's got 5 pins on the relay. This is the same relay, but I'm just going to pull this out to show you, but the 5th pin isn't used. They all seem to be 5-pin relays, so that has got not a lot to it, but it's just got a 4-pin relay. Now there should be a 12 volt feed here that then jumps over to this starter motor. And if you notice, when I touch this starter motor terminal, it's saying that we've got an earth. Now the earth is coming through the starter motor, so the starter motor is earthed, the starter motor then comes goes through the solenoid, and it comes back up to here. And that solenoid wants a power on that pin to make it work. So it gets the earth feed that we can see through the starter solenoid. And if I change that earth into a positive, you can hear the car wants to try and start. The battery is a little bit flat, it is on charge. But it doesn't sort of make or give us anything on why we do not have 12 volts on this pin. So what I'll do, I'll grab a test light now, and I want to show you something that I noticed by coincidence, and this is what stopped me and made me start recording. So I'm not spreading any terminals, I'm going beside the terminals, but you have a look at this test light when I crank the car. So ignition is on, and look at that test light is lighting up. So that relay is getting 12 volt from somewhere else. Now that might just seem a little bit boring, but that gave me a clue, and that clue is that this must have another relay feeding that side of the starter motor. But that still doesn't fix our problem, because we know, if I take you back over here, we already know from our experiments that we have got a positive feed to this relay. But what we are missing, if I come over to, so we already know that we have got a positive feed to this relay when the ignition is on, and when the ignition is off, that goes to an earth. So that is going to be controlled by something. I'm not sure what, but some sort of module or some sort of, I don't think it can be a relay, because if it was a relay it wouldn't go. I'll just show you. If I just pop that to, I've swapped the other side of that test light to battery positive, and we've now got an earth. So there must be some sort of module that is actually controlling the positive side of this relay, which is quite interesting. But we have got no negative or ground, so this feed does absolutely nothing. And when I go to start it, we've got absolutely nothing. So this is the issue, this pin here, not this one as first. Well, we knew we had two feeds missing, but this one is absolutely fine. So the next thing I did was I disconnected all the earth. Maybe I won't bother showing this because it's a little bit boring, but I disconnected all the wires to the ECU, because I was absolutely adamant going on the fault code that that pin is controlled by the engine ECU. And basically, to cut a long story short, on this connection here, I just went through, I ended up, actually I'll tell you what, I will show it. Now, I wanted to find out which ECU pin was controlling that relay, because I've got no diagram to go on, and I just want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about before I carry on. So let me grab this. This is a scan tool, but I'm just going to use it as a multimeter. And I've already done this, but this is where we're at. Go to diode, because battery is getting flat, so I've got to be quick. diode and continuity, and literally I just disconnected all the ECU plugs and I was just touching one by one until I found something that beeped. I started at A plug, or whatever it is, the last one, F, and then when I got to C, eventually, can't remember which one it is now. Eventually I found it. There you go. So that is what I'd found, and what we can do is go to ohms and just sort of make sure that we have got a good connection, and it's not that it's joined in, which you can see we've got 0. It will go down and down and down. It's ranging, but it will go down, and you can basically, we know that is the wire, and also it's got a yellow and green wire, and I lifted the fuse box and there it is. So hopefully you're still with me. So the fault code coming up is saying that the starter motor relay is wrong, starter relay circuit is wrong, and I'm thinking, if we've got a good power, so we're not worried about these other 2 wires, just these 2 control wires on this relay. You've got one that goes power somewhere, it's got it, and one that's getting a ground, and that ground wire is fine for the ECU. It's a bad ECU, right? Well, I'm not so sure, and that's where I got up to. And then I decided just to do one other test to get you guys up to speed. Quite tight, these ECU plugs. And that was, I ended up just disconnecting because I thought, I just want to know what all these relays do. And I literally just went one by one. So this is the feed in. So we're going to go this way, sorry. This is the feed in, and that is the control. So that goes to the starter motor, okay? So my test light is on battery positive this side, and that's got a good ground through the starter. And I went through every single one until I got to this one, and there was nothing on it. And I thought, that's weird, because we don't have a ground. We don't have a ground, and we don't have a power. So I wondered where it went to. Now this isn't always advised, but I didn't use this tool. I used the multimeter. So don't go powering up things you don't know where they go. But I just used the continuity, and basically eventually I realised, can you see, without me applying a battery power, we've now got a battery power coming through this test light. So if I power that up, I don't think it will power up because, sorry, I need to move this back to ground. Should have planned this really, shouldn't I? Right, yeah, we've got a ground now. So this simulates, like I was saying earlier, it goes to ground. This test light has now got a ground path, but it's got no power. But if we give it a power, it lights up. So that is interesting. And the reason that's interesting is because we've got a secondary relay that is powering this circuit. And that is interesting because I did wonder if it's because it's got start-stop, but does the car have a secondary start-stop relay or something along them lines? And this is just a second relay that the relay can control. Maybe it's just for start-stop, maybe there's other things involved, I'm not sure. But quite often you will have 2 relays on vehicles with start-stop, and one module can turn it on, the other one can do it as well. Or you have things like a clutch switch that it won't fire the relay to start the car. This is auto obviously, but you know, the brake switch. But usually the ECU would control it. So what all this has allowed me to do is just to start working out what type of circuit is on the car, because I've just got nothing to go off. Now I have lifted this fuse box up, and let's see if I can get you a shot in that. So I've lifted the fuse box up as best I can, and you have to take my word for it, but these are the two wires that join the two relays together. But it goes off somewhere else, and I don't know where this wire goes to, and that's what I want to know. So basically, when this relay is clicking over, this relay's powering up this relay, but it's also sending a power feed somewhere else, and we don't know where that is. And I think that, combined with what I'm about to show you, is going to lead to our issue. So this relay clicks over, and it then switches to, oh, just lent on that. This relay switches over, and this relay's got a permanent 12 volts. So I'm going to leave you there. So we know that unless this wire gets power, so I think the way this works, this wire is sending power down, because this is before this relay. This relay still needs to switch on to control the starter. So I think this relay, when it clicks, this wire is sending power somewhere, and I don't know where. So I'm going to put you on, I'm going to put that light back on there, and I'm going to put this relay back in, and then I'm going to take you back inside the car. Now if you watch that test light, when I try and start this, look, it's got power. It's giving that relay power, that starter motor relay. So that starter motor relay should now go and try and start the car, but it's not. And it now, the car is not responding, and it is not livening that relay up at all. There we go. Now my foot's on the brake, now it goes out. And bear that in mind when we go back and scan this car and look at the two fault codes that are coming up. Right, we've only one fault code now, which I don't know what it is at all. I don't know. Until we get on to the Maserati system, I'm not going to find out what that is. It might even be that this scan tool's reading the wrong code. It might be completely irrelevant, but whatever it is active. But I would expect there to be some sort of fault code in this, because there's still modules missing, and we've got crash events happened and things like that. I know they've all been wiped, but I'm expecting that code, or a code at least. Now I'll go to start. That little light is still on, and watch what's come back. Got two. You got active starter control circuit, and then the ignition start control circuit open. Now I'm going to clear that code, and I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to take my foot off the brake a bit quick. So I don't know if it'll do it now, but that ignition start one comes up first. Okay, that comes up first, and then the starter one comes up. Now I suspect that purple cable, the computer's picking something up and saying that one is that 12 volt is not getting where it should get to, and that's half what I'm thinking is going on. And then that means that the starter motor relay isn't clicking on, and then it's throwing another fault code. So I expect either that, or I suspect this car has got a third-party immobilizer in it, because I've seen these sort of fault codes before on Land Rovers when they've got a ghost fitted. Now I cannot tell you I'm an expert on ghost immobilizers, because I'm not. and we've got in contact with Auto Watch. They said it hasn't got one, but there are other immobilizers out there. So has this got one fitted? And the reason I say that is, like I say, I've seen these codes on Land Rovers before, and they all seem to work different. Like, we see so many Land Rovers in, mainly Discovery Sports and Evoques, but they all seem to operate differently with these ghost immobilizers. Sometimes you can get them to start, not a problem, but the gear stick doesn't come up. Sometimes they just won't start and they throw these codes up. So I am wondering if this has got an immobilizer on it. So I don't know. I'm going to start having a look round and see if I can see anything out of the ordinary. But I would love a wiring diagram just to find out where that purple wire goes, because if I can start understanding how this system works, I'm sure we can fix it. And just in our travels, I've found something. I started undoing this or having a look. Some of these clips were not pushed in properly at the back. These little clips up here. And then I've pulled this down, and this is as I found it. So you got that not clipped into anything, and these plugs just not clipped into anything, and these little things here aren't pushed all the way in. And I'm thinking surely it wouldn't have come from the factory like it. Like, these plugs just hanging here doing nothing. They should be pushed in down there. Plus there's tape, which doesn't look factory, and some of this heat shrink, well, not heat shrink, you can see the different colour in this foam tape. Look, on camera it shows up much better, and I'm just thinking, this don't quite look right. So why would someone pull a 23 plate car apart unless it's had some serious warranty issues? Has someone fitted an immobiliser to this car? Right, so it's a few days on now, so I filmed the last bit just over the Christmas period. Just had a little look at this, just curious really, and we didn't have any wiring diagrams at all. Now we do now have access to the Maserati wiring diagrams. I've checked everything that is throwing those fault codes, and the conclusion that I have come to is that there is nothing wrong with the car. The car is fine, all the ECUs, the hybrid system and everything has all been adequately reset. I'm convinced there's nothing wrong with it. We've got 2 fault codes coming up, and I was to the point, a lot of you said it in the comments, that you think the car has got a ghost immobiliser fitted, and I'll be honest, I did think that to a point, but some of the fault codes I wasn't quite sure. So Rob's contacted Auto Watch, I've contacted Auto Watch as well, and they've said it hasn't got one fitted. They said it hasn't got one registered to it unless it's been fitted without being registered. I've got some advice from a couple of ghost fitters. They've basically said there's a few locations that these will be fitted to, and I've checked them and I can't see them. But with the ghost immobilisers, or these CAN bus immobilisers, technically you can fit them pretty much anywhere in the car on some CAN lines. That's how they work. So they are very small and they can be hidden. So I've been through the car. I'll show you. I've had this out, I've had plastics under the dash out, I've had the back of the car out, trying to find an immobiliser, because I am utterly convinced that this car has got an immobiliser issue. Now, in the last bit of footage I did say underneath the dashboard's been touched. Now maybe I should sit down and watch YouTube more, because as soon as I flicked back, because I just wondered, I wanted to know what fault codes this car had when it came in, and I thought, I bet Rob's filmed it, so I'll go back to the video. And of course, you've probably already thought about this. Of course this has been apart, because the dashboard's been out to have the airbags changed, so that kind of threw me. But there's bits of foam tape that aren't the same colour anyway. I've just been looking and I'm really struggling. I really do not want to let this one beat me. So I'm just going back to check over my work that I've already done. The fault codes are there. I just want to clear it down and I'll start again. It's really confusing. Most of the feeds are there to the relays. One feed isn't there. The ECU's not switching it on. All the wiring so far is pretty much checking out, but I'm going to go back. There's 2 relays that aren't switching on, and I'm going to go back to the starter one because it's the easiest one to get to, and I'm yeah, I'm just going to recheck the work and I'm going to show it on camera. But off camera, I've spent quite a bit of time on this. I've been through wiring diagrams. I can tell you almost every single wire where it goes on these cars, which is a joke. But I've been eat, sleep, dreaming it. But I'm convinced I don't want to let this beat me. I'm thinking, to be honest with you, it has got a CAN bus immobilizer on it, but maybe just not an auto watch Ghost, because there's several others. There are others out there, so I don't know. But look, we'll take you through it and hopefully we get this thing running. So this pin here is the earth pin of the relay, which is what we are struggling to find. So I have just literally try and lock this phone on focus. So I'm just going down the side of the terminal there, and I've just been going through the ECU plugs one by one to try and find which one this goes to, and I have found it. So you can see and hear we've got full continuity there, in actual fact I can just test this with a test light. Let's get a test light. So you never want to test or put 12 volts to like a wire going to a module without knowing what to do, what's on the other side, etc. You'd never want to bridge this relay and send 12 volts to ECU, but we've confirmed with the test meter, and then I also know now, I've double confirmed it with the Maserati wiring diagram, that we're on the money and we're on the right wire. So this test light, we're going to load test the wiring between the ECU and the relay, so you can see you've got power there. So that other end of this is now going to have power on it. If I touch it with my test light, which you can see we do, so I've confirmed that we've got power on this wire. So this wire here is not going to be monitored, it's just 12 volt. There should be 12 volt here, which the test light's just fallen off, but I'll just pop that back on. We've got 12 volt. You should have 12 volt here as well, which we will have when this relay feeds into it, as we said, and then you will have the starter motor on this relay. So the only one that's kind of monitored really is this pin, which is working. Now I did put a bit in the last footage that we did see another wire, and I was wondering where that went to. Well, unfortunately that actually was a bit pointless, because it actually just joins up and it goes to this pin here, which is just irrelevant. It's something this car hasn't got. So right now I'm sitting here thinking that this car has got an ECU fault. Starting to think that this car's got an ECU fault because it's just not earthing that relay, but I don't think so. It's very unlikely to have an ECU fault, and the fact that it's thrown up an ignition relay as well, it doesn't make sense. So this is why I think it's got a CAN immobilizer in it. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to take the covers off the ECU plug. I'm going to get a back probe, put it in there and see what happens to it when everything's together and we crank the key. I'm presuming we're not going to get an earth signal. I'm presuming that's what's going to happen, but let's just try it, and we've got not a lot to lose. And that will slide off, and we should have our green and yellow wire, which you can see quite clearly there. So we're just going to put this back together, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little back probe. So I'm just going to put a back probe in the pin, so a back probe literally just sits there, so we can monitor this all live. So I'm going to put all these connections back together, and we'll cut back in. So I want to pop this relay in here. I want to put the test light onto battery positive, because obviously this is earthed, not this is earth, not positive. So no reading there now. So when I start it, I presume that isn't going to light up. I haven't actually tried this yet. So brake, foot on the brake, try and start it. Hang on a minute. What? Well, that should be, that's even more strange. That's strange. That should be cranking. Right. That makes no sense whatsoever. try that again. And it's now not lighting up. What on earth is that? Sorry, this is, I know I'm babbling on a little bit, but I'm confused. We've got power and we've got ground. We know the power feeds, we've already checked all that. And that is working, but now it's not. I wonder if it's thrown the fault code up. I wonder if it's stopped cranking because of the fault code. Which I think is probably because of an immobilizer, which would make sense, but that should have cranked just for a small period of time at least. So, right, I'm going to wrap this wire around this pin of this relay, and then when I've thought of what I want to say, I'll cut back in. So I'm just literally going to wrap this wire around this relay terminal just so that I can see more what is going on this end. So what I've managed to ascertain is that the car, when it throws that fault code that we've been trying to fight, it stops controlling that relay. It knows there's a fault and it stops controlling it. It just doesn't make any sense. I know that the ghost can sometimes force those sort of codes on the car. I've seen it before. We do a lot of Land Rovers, a lot of them are fitted with ghosts, and I've seen it, but it doesn't make sense what it's doing now. And also, when I put earth to that relay now, it's not clicking or lighting the light up, which it was a minute ago, and it is doing my brain in. So I think what I'm going to do next, I'm going to take a wire and jump it. So what I'm going to do is that bit of wire that I've put in, I'm going to just use this jumping piece to, sorry, this jump wire, just to pop in here and literally just wrap that around there, and then let's turn it on and see what happens, I guess. That is so... It can't be a broken wire. We've checked the wire. Okay. I've already had a quick look underneath here. We'll have to just pull this apart, and I'll have to unpick the loom. There must be... I haven't got an answer for that. There's a continuity test between that wire and that wire. So why does it now work when I jump that, unless there's another splice in it that is somehow backfeed, but that doesn't make any sense. I've literally just jumped it. We've just checked that light. There's got to be something going on. I think we're on the right track, so I'm gonna have to just turn this upside down. I'll pull the fuse box right out, and I've just seen something. Why can't I see that on camera? Can you? There's a immobilizer on it. Look at the flashing light. I couldn't see that the other day. This cover's come off. Oh my goodness! All this ag for this. So it's not a ghost, but whoever said this has got an immobilizer on it, you were quite right. It doesn't say what immobilizer that is. There's the backup battery, I think. So, right, well, I can't believe that. So when this is off, for some reason it's allowing power through. But that's the only thing that makes sense. It's being controlled elsewhere. So when the ignition's off, it's allowing power through. When the ignition comes on, it's cutting power. I never knew that would work like that. Right, I'll get this box out. I'll get this box out properly, and we'll cut back in when I've pulled it apart. I think I can ring him now and give him the good news, because I think he's been panicking about this car, I'm not going to lie, and so have I. Right, I just fitted this alarm, fair play to them, because they have actually taped the wires back together, so you can't, when you pull the wire, the original wires, they're all actually taped. They've done a really good job, so fair play to them. You've caught me out for sure. Right, there's nothing for it, just, so where does that go to? Right, that goes down to that little earth stud there, look. There we go. Right, so what wires have we got here? We've got power. This little box here, I don't know what that's for. I'm going to presume actually that's a relay, I reckon. I could totally be wrong. Is that, could be wrong, I'm not 100% sure. Because the only reason I say it's a relay is because that's the only thing going back into, mind you, these ones are. So that's, right, I think that's the ignition feed. So when the ignition's coming on, this is triggering if you haven't reset it. So, where do these two wires go to? Well, I assume two, they must be two. You must have, oh no, it feels like more like four. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at this. The yellow and green wires for the starter motor. Right, let's cut this back. I'm going to cut this back off camera. We're going to join these wires back together. Right, so dug this insulation back. I would say yes that this is going to be the relay for the car. I don't know what that green wire's for. They're the powers for the relay. Right, let's just, for the sake of the video, let's just cut this out. Like so. So this is just joining those yellow and green wires back together now. Let's pop our battery support back on it. This battery is probably flat. Sounds like it is. So this has now been bypassed. Let's get the scan tool back on this screen. So we've just logged into the secure gateway. That will come up in a minute saying it's unlocked. Just going through it again, have to be connected to the internet, so important. Gateway has been unlocked. So the tool does all the work, there's nothing fancy to it. Pop in and we'll do a high-speed scan. We must have 50 million codes in this thing where we've been playing with it. So we're going to just literally lock into it, clear all the codes, and then we will cut back in. Right, going into the ECU now. We've still got a fault code here, but that is irrelevant at the moment. That will clear when the car's back together. There's still a few things off this car. Wow. So the brake system, again, that's irrelevant. There's still some codes in here. The steering angle sensor needs program, etc. But those codes, so their codes are nothing to worry about, but those relay codes have gone. It's a bit of a funny thing. It's a bit of like a letdown at the end of the video. Literally join two wires together, and all that hassle and all that stress is just solved. But yeah, it has been a bit of a headache. It was doing my head in. The fact that those wires, one minute they're joined and one minute they weren't, that really threw me, because I tested those wires first of all, and that's why I almost thought, is it a bad ECU? But then I just thought, you know, it's going to be a ghost because I've seen it before, but it wasn't. So that actually makes sense. It's a smart little immobilizer, that, but that's very old school. Well, old school meets new school. I don't know what that is. I've got a feeling that might be a Pandora or something. But wow, yeah, we're fixed. So thank goodness for that. The only strange thing that doesn't quite make sense is why the other relay fault code had a code, which is gone now. And it also seems very, very silly that all it does is disconnect the starter motor. That doesn't seem quite enough. Normally they do more than that. So we might find when we pull the immobilizer out, there might be another wire somewhere, but that is working, that's running. All off the key. So the biggest thing now is I do not want to put all this stuff back together. This isn't even stuff that Rob and that have removed. That's all stuff I've taken out. I've taken the dashboard out, not the dashboard, the clocks out, and I really don't want to put this all back together. I absolutely hate that part of the job. But another one fixed, give it back to Rob, he can finish it off, and then hopefully we can get this steering angle sensor calibrated, and that will be one that's completely finished. So I've tapped into this wire for the positive. I mean, don't get me wrong, the wire's not compromised or anything, but just to sort things like that properly, nice dual heat shrink with adhesive in it, so when we warm this up, this will actually seal. It will have glue that will come out and it will seal the connection. I'm not going to be able to probably do this on camera because I need both hands, but just to, it might go. You can just start to see that glue coming out, so when I warm that up now, it will glue the connection so that no water can get in there, and you know that this is future proof. And there we go, you can see the glues come out, and that just completely seals this connection, which is exactly what you want under the bonnet.